Don't want much dead air here, so good evening and welcome to another episode of Speedway Digest Thursday Night Thunder, the most hardcore motorsports show on the internet. Let's go ahead and get 1 second here. I'm waiting for stuff to load. It's been kind of slow this evening, but hopefully everything works out okay. This is our 226th episode we're working on tonight. Let's go ahead and see if this is going to load or not. I'm hoping it does. Stand by a couple seconds, please. Hello and welcome to the December 16th edition of Speedway Digest Thursday Night Thunder, the most hardcore motorsports program on the internet. This is episode 226 of the series, as I just said. I'm your host, Adam Jason Sinclair, and on tonight's program, Mykkal Mulalley Kapalo and myself will be talking about IMSA racing, F1, as well as chatting about whatever other motorsports topics come into the conversation.
Are you a race car driver, crew chief, pit member, track owner, or maybe you're just a huge fan of the sport? Contact us to get your spot on the show. After all, you deserve your 15 minutes of fame, and we would love to hear from you.
This show marks the second to last one of 2021. We're going to have a special edition on Saturday morning. I'll tell you a little bit more about that a little later in the show. And the final one from Mykkal for this season. Once again, we'd like to thank her for helping out. And although she took some personal time through the middle of this year, her assistance and insight into the world of modern motorsports has contributed much to the spirit of this show, almost since its inception. We hope she can join us, at least some, in 2022. It's going to be a good off-season. There's a lot of stuff going on that we're going to talk about briefly this evening, and then we're going to go ahead and close it out pretty much for the year. As I say, we do have one more show that we're probably going to have on Saturday morning. It has not been finalized yet, but I'm working on that, and I will post that on our Facebook page tomorrow, as well as on Twitter, as soon as I have the final details. Now, there's been a lot of stuff going on in the past 2 weeks. We haven't been able to be on the air. It's been a really hectic time of year. I have a couple other things going on that I really don't want to talk about much on here. There's some other jobs going on and stuff like that. But it's been a really busy time, and I haven't been able to come back to the program as much as I was hoped. But it did. I was able to post a lot of stuff on SpeedwayDigest.com recently, so you can check that out. I posted 25 articles yesterday, which is kind of interesting. It's the most amount I've posted in a long time. But about all sorts of different motorsports news, so be sure to check that out on there. One of the big news things that's going on there, of course, is the end of the Formula One season. Max Verstappen is the new Formula One world champion. It came down to an interesting ending to the Formula One race, where Mercedes actually filed 2 different protests regarding the end of the race. But in the end, Lewis Hamilton was the gentleman that he is. He ended up congratulating Verstappen and convincing Mercedes to drop their 2 protests, and therefore ending the season with Max Verstappen as your world champion, Lewis Hamilton in second place. That'll be kind of cool to see how Lewis works next year. I know he was knighted yesterday by the British royal family there, and so that's kind of cool to have Sir Lewis Hamilton racing in Formula One next season. It was a great year for Formula One. Hopefully we get a chance to travel down there this next year. They've got the one race in Miami. I did once again check on the tickets for that, which it takes you to a site where you have to put in your information, because there are apparently no tickets available, at least right now. They sold out even before the tickets went on sale. They were sold out, which is kind of weird, but that's how Formula One works sometimes. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully we get a chance to head down there to Miami next year. Even if it's just for one of the preview things, that'd be kind of cool. But we'll see how that goes. In other racing news, of course, the Petty Enterprises deal that we talked a little bit about on the website there. Petty is going to partner with GMS Racing for next season. He's sort of the figurehead of the team. He does have the two numbers, number 42 and number 43. Ty Dillon will be racing for that team next season, as well as Eric Jones. So it'll be kind of cool. And we've had Ty Dillon on the show before. He's a pretty interesting character, and it'll be good to see him in the Petty Enterprises GMS racing machine next year. And we'll see how that goes. It could be kind of neat for Ty there, and hopefully everything works out. Other news about there's a lot of IMSA news going on right now. Of course, the changing of seats there in IMSA is a constant thing with the silly season there. There's been a lot of interesting stuff going on there. One of the big things, of course, is Tristan Nunez. He's a friend of the show. He's been on here several times in the past several years. Next year, he'll be racing for the Wayland Motorsports team, which would be kind of cool to see him in that car. It's a sort of a lateral step from Mazda. Not really a step up, but sort of a lateral step. It's a step up from the team he was with this year, of course. And although he did do pretty well with them, it is definitely a step up back into the upper echelon of the sport. So hopefully he has a good year next year. I hope to get to say hello to him on about a month from now. And I think the 20th of January is when we're heading up to Daytona for the Roar before the Rolex 24. And then the following weekend is the Rolex 24 Daytona. So it'll be kind of cool. Get to see all those guys again. Hopefully the paddock is open. That was scheduled to go up to the race in Sebring last season, and they just couldn't make it. COVID and all sorts of things there just made it a little bit difficult. But we're looking forward to Daytona next year, and it'll be pretty awesome to see that. There's also a lot of news in the LMDH front. There's rumors that Peugeot is going to put a car out with a Dodge branding for IMSA. Those are basically just rumors right now. There's all sorts of other different things going on. There's rumors that McLaren will be racing in LMDH with the Ford power from the Ford GT. That would be kind of cool to see that. All sorts of other different stuff going on there. You have to follow, of course, SpeedwayDigest.com for more information about that. But Marshall Pruitt's been having some pretty good stuff, as well as Sports Car 365. Daily Sports Car also has some information about IMSA and the LMDH future, so be sure to check those out. Most of the stuff on Speedway Digest, at least in IMSA, comes from the IMSA Wire Services, so that's pretty much the official source, and it comes pretty quickly. And as soon as I see it, I get it posted. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. Sometimes it's up within seconds of it getting onto the wire service. So be sure to check out SpeedwayDigest.com, the racing news section. There'll be lots of information about that. So what are you looking forward to in the off season? Anything you're following? Any racing you're going to be checking out, especially in the next month or two?
Well, my nephew has started painting his car, and so I'm gonna help him out a little bit with that during the off season so we can get him to a track sometime this next year. But other than that, I'm just gonna try and stay warm until the nice weather comes, because this cold weather really sucks.
It's definitely not cold here. It has been a little chilly last week, but this week it's sort of a seasonable thing. It's about 80 degrees during the day, in the upper 70s at night, which is it's still pretty warm out there. I say that, and it'll end up dropping down to the 40s again next week, but you never know. But it's Florida. It's one of those sort of things. There was a lot of fog last week. That was kind of annoying. But those sort of things, winter fog. I'm kind of thinking that might have an impact on the Rolex 24 Daytona again. There's been a couple of years where the Rolex 24 has actually stopped because of the fog. There's one year when they had sleet, the freezing precipitation thing coming out of the fog. So hopefully the fog doesn't play too much of a role in the race next year, and hopefully everything works out.
Are you going to attend next year?
Yeah, we got everything set. We're going to be at the Roar before the Rolex 24 the weekend before the race. That's just a drive up and drive back thing. Makes for a long day, but it's not that bad. And then the following weekend, we're going to be there from Friday morning until Sunday, the whole weekend. So they've got they've got a race on Friday, and then they've got the practice and everything going on Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday they've got the race itself. So that'll be cool. But again, we're hoping to talk to some of the drivers there on Friday. They're Roar before the Rolex 24. There's always a lot of people there, but it really depends. So it'll be interesting.
The Formula E, how come they haven't? Not Formula E. Yeah, it was Formula E. How come we haven't heard too much about them lately?
Well, they've had they're in their off season as well, so they've had some testing and stuff. They had a bunch of information come out in the past few days about some financial changes and some environmental changes that are going to be affecting the sport next year. So but they have a little bit of a break before they come back next year. Extreme E has their final race of the season this weekend on Saturday and Sunday, and that's why I'm going to have the special edition of the show on Saturday morning, probably at 10:30 is what we're looking at. But I have to do some adjustment to my phone and make a few different things, make sure that the guy who's calling in can be connected. He is the person from Excite Racing who we were trying to talk to a few weeks ago, and that just didn't work out. But hopefully we get in touch with him on Saturday. I'm hoping to talk to him about 10:30. I think the show will probably start about 10:25, something like that. It'll just be basically, hello, how you doing? And then we'll get him on the air for a few minutes, and then we'll go from there. If you've been watching anything exciting on the YouTube TV or anything, I know they've got a bunch of different racing series on there every so often. You never know where they're from, but they do have quite a bit of race coverage there.
Like the other night, they had a little bit of World of Outlaw racing, so I was really happy to see that. But I've been really, like, every time I turn on the TV, I look for Red Bull. Wait, what is it called? Red Bull Soapbox Car Racing. And I haven't been able, and I know they probably got like an off season too, of course, but I haven't been able to find it lately. And that was what I was really enjoying. That was pretty cool.
The Red Bull does have some interesting stuff out there, and I know that we got to talk a little bit. The Nitro Rallycross season wrapped up. I believe it was. Let me check my calendar here. I believe it was this past. So about 2 weeks ago, they wrapped up there at the called the Firm in Stark, Florida. That was an awesome race. I watched a little bit of that. Hoping to get up there for a race sometime in the future, probably next season, if they have it there again. But that was a pretty interesting race. We talked to a bunch of the competitors there, and they were currently competing in Nitro Rallycross on the show here in the past, including people like Tanner Faust, and we had a few other drivers on there who we've talked to briefly. But that'll be cool to see that. We'd like to congratulate the champion there in the Nitro Rallycross series. It was a really, really close ending to that, and it was interesting to see how it ended there with the founder of the series ending up winning the whole thing. It was kind of the same sort of thing as what happened with Tony Stewart and his series there, but it was pretty neat to see it, and it was kind of cool to see how it worked out. And hopefully we get a chance to see that next season. Not sure, but hopefully we do. It's going to be quite an interesting off season. They still got some stuff going on there at Palm Beach International. That's still sort of a situation that was in the news like crazy, and now they've sort of buried the lead with that. So we'll see how that goes. It could be that they've got another year of racing going, or it could be they suddenly close and you never see them ever again. So we'll have to see how that goes, and that's one of those sort of deals. How are the racetracks doing out there? I know there's been some that closed and some that reopened and some that never reopened again.
Well, it's really kind of just messy out here. Like Ephrata, I just learned that they're tearing that track down and they're putting a jail there, and that I firmly believe, because I've noticed lately that they've been cleaning it out, like hauling, like I think they just hauled like the track ambulance out and stuff. So I think that there's definitely something a little bit weird going on with that, but I don't foresee that ever being a racetrack again, unfortunately, which really stinks. And then Hermiston, which is in Oregon, they had like a really killer season, and I just learned that they're not going to be open this upcoming season because they're going to put more time into this other event center that they got up and going this season. I think they had it going for a race this season, but they're hoping to put more time into it to race that track more full-time for everyone next year. So they're not going to have Hermiston open, but they're going to try and have their event center open full-time. And then Wenatchee, they just always have all kinds of crazy stuff over there. Lots of Crazy stuff. Interesting.
It should be quite a different thing out there. I know that they've got the racing returning. Some of the big races are going to be out there in Portland next year. They've got the new the ARCA race out there. Plus, they just announced the NHRA is going to be back there in in 2022. So that'll be kind of cool to see that stuff back there again. Again, this is we're very happy that we had a good year this year. We got to talk to a lot of excellent people. Um, we'd like to thank Dakota Dickerson once again for coming on and being our professional eyes and ears at some of the tracks and sharing his experience with us this year. Hopefully next year he's able to come on a little bit more. This year I believe we had him on like 4 or 5 times. Hopefully next year we have him almost double that. That's my goal. So we'll talk to Dakota a little bit. We also have some other people who are trying to get on the program. I've had reaching out to different people this past season, some of which ended up working a little bit better than others. We do have a little bit of a chance of talking to a guy from horse racing. I was going to try and have him on tonight, but I wasn't really sure how that would go. Because as you know, the guy, the horse that won the Kentucky Derby ended up passing away during exercises this past week. So I want to try to touch on that. I might actually write a little piece for Speedway Digest about that probably in the next week or so. So be on the lookout for that. SpeedwayDigest.com in the racing news section. Who was your favorite guest that we had on the show this year? I know you weren't able to participate in all of the shows, but who was your favorite one to get to talk to this year?
No, I can't really recall because you're right. This season's just been chaotic, but as always, Dakota Dickerson is always cool to chat with. And yeah, I don't know. I like talking to everyone, honestly. I don't really have a favorite because we learn so much new stuff from everybody that comes on, and they're just all so different. So I don't know. That's a hard one. But what about you? Because you've been here all season. So what about you?
I'd actually have to agree with you that I think that it's really hard to pick a favorite. It's not that hard to pick the bad ones, but even the bad ones, when you listen to it in the future, sometimes it's not as bad as it seemed like when we were talking to them originally. We've learned that with people, to not to name drop anything, but with Noah Gregson especially, his interview didn't seem to go quite as well when we first talked to him, but after a while, after listening to it a few times, it's better than I thought it was. Noah Gregson is an amazing driver, and we hope he has a long and successful career. He's got some skeletons in his closet he has to deal with, but so does a lot of people, and he's doing really well in NASCAR. So hopefully he does better in other series as well. He's one of those sort of drivers who I think you'd end up seeing anywhere, and he'd do pretty well. Who's the dream person you'd like to have on this show? I know I've tried to get a bunch of different people. I've had various levels of responses, but who's the person you'd really like to talk to here?
Wow, that is a really tough question. I don't know, because there's so many people that I would really just love to pick their brain a little bit, but I don't know. I think John Force would be pretty cool. I think that would be a pretty cool one, but I don't know, because there's just so many people out there that I really don't know. But what about you, if you had to pick?
John Force would be interesting, but I think he'd be the sort of guy who, if you didn't keep him on task with the questions, he'd go off for like an hour or two, and you wouldn't know what happened. But that works too, because the first time I talked to Jeremy Mayfield on this program, he took up the entire hour, and I actually had to cut him off a little bit at the end. But so that was pretty interesting. But I think that the best person to talk to would probably be like someone like Jimmy Johnson, just because he's the multiple-time champion there in NASCAR, and now next season he's going to be racing full-time in IndyCar, and he's been fairly competitive in IndyCar. So I think Jimmy Johnson would be awesome to have on the show at least once.
I would have to agree. I think that would be pretty cool too.
Mm-hmm. We'll have to see if we can dig up some of our contacts at Hendrick Motorsports and see if they can talk to his new people in IndyCar and try to work something out. You never know. So let's see. One of the other races was talking about John Force. I'm kind of thinking about going to the Gator Nationals next season, but I do have a contact in the HRA who's a great person who helps me out a lot. So we'll see if we can get that to happen. But as I've stated before, the racing here in Florida is just insane where it goes, and there's everything slammed into a really, really short period of time. And if you don't plan on traveling every weekend, you're gonna miss out on something. And sometimes the multiple races taking place on the same weekend, and if you're doing something else, you end up missing out. As pretty much all of you know, I'm becoming a bigger fan of cruising. We did go on a cruise this past year. We're going on another one in early next year, and the other one we're going on will conflict with the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, as well as the race in Sebring for the Trans Am Series, which also has the historic sports cars, as well as some other racing things there. So that'll be kind of not fair that that we mess out on those. Hopefully, I get to see a little bit of some of that on the ship, and maybe I can look it up on my phone or whatever. But just the way it goes, there's a lot of racing going on here in Florida all at the same time, and you have to really pick and choose what you want to go to. So the deal with the Gainesville race in the Gator Nationals is it's 1 week before the racing at Sebring for the 12 hours of Sebring. So, and we're going to be up there for 12 hours. We're going to get there on Friday. And on Saturday, at this point, we're planning on driving up there both days. So that's not really that far. It's about the same distance as driving from here to Homestead. So it's just under 100 miles, something like that, which could take as long as 3 hours, depending on traffic and all that. But it's not that bad. So hopefully we get to go to Sebring. We'd have a good time there. Hopefully we get to go to planning on going to Daytona. Hopefully the weather's really good there in Daytona. And it should be an interesting off season. I know I'm planning on, at this point, anyway, we're planning on taking the month of January off for the show, and the end of this year, of course, for the holiday for Christmas and New Year's and all that. So what the tentative plan is to have the show off the air from. We're going to have the next show on Saturday the 18th. That'll be a really short program, probably less than 30 minutes. We're going to talk to the guy from Excite, whose team races in the Extreme E Series, and he'll be there in the Jurassic Coast in England, racing this weekend. We're going to be off from the 19th of December through, let's say, our next show will probably the 3rd of February is what I'm looking at right now, which is the weekend after the Rolex 24. That allow me to try and pick up at least one person from the Rolex 24 to come on the show. Hopefully, Dakota Dickerson, maybe another guy. So kind of cool. So right now, mark your calendars. February 3rd, 2022. The Speedway Digest Thursday Night Thunder will return for its next season. We're hoping that it'll be a great season. We're hoping there'll be some amazing things to talk about. I know I touched on some of them tonight with the changes in the sports, the new cars coming into IMSA, the changes in IndyCar, and we didn't even touch on the brand new car that's going to be in NASCAR next season. They'll be racing in California, I believe, that the early February there for their all-star type race. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But we'll see how that goes that time. We'll talk a little bit more about NASCAR early next year. I did run a little piece about Bubba Wallace the other day and his new, he's got an interview show on ESPN. You can download now, so be sure to check that out. But with that, let's go ahead and close out the last full episode of Thursday Night Thunder for 2021. Be sure to check out past episodes of Thursday Night Thunder as well as the other shows on the Speedway Digest Radio Network at speedwaydigest.podbean.com. There are some new shows coming to the Speedway Digest Radio Network next season. I've heard at least one. I don't know if there'll be others. I don't know if Tim Despain will be doing any work for us next season or not. We will find that out, and we'll post about it as soon as we know something on the Speedway Digest Thursday Night Thunder Facebook page, which you can check out by searching for Speedway Digest Thursday Night Thunder in the search bar or going to facebook.com/SD Thursday Night Thunder. I also invite you to read the articles covering all aspects of motorsports at speedwaydigest.com. I did put out, as I said, about 25 articles yesterday. Most of them in the racing news section, a couple of them in the Speedway news section, and at least one in the NASCAR section. So be sure to check that out. In addition, if you're a fan of South Florida and who isn't, be sure to check out the latest news and information about our Slice of Paradise and my blog site, Football Plum's Fantastic Finds. It can be found on Facebook, Twitter, and by heading to Football Plum's Fantastic Finds.wordpress.com.
Thank you for listening, and we look forward to seeing you again next year in the Thunderdome as we discuss the major issues in the world of modern auto racing.
Thanks again, and have a great holiday season.